Practitioners in naturopathy, kinesiology, live blood screening and natural fertility management. 3348 6098.
Station spawn. Well, welcome back to Bay FM Bay Health. Yeah, wow. That was a really interesting conversation. Yeah. Honestly, I had no idea about that.
We actually have a couple of the Blue Shield products in the clinic. So we've got one that covers all of our rooms, because there's ones you can get for the home, there's ones that you can get for businesses, there's ones that you can get for your, like she said, in your handbag. So
that just protects the radiation and the rays.
It neutralises the area you're in. So the ones in your handbag do about 2.5 metres in any direction. So we always have a couple of them in stock. There's also ones that you can plug into the wall in your house. They do 30 metres in all directions. Wow. Okay. And then there are other big ones for a business that go 45 metres in all directions. Yeah. So they range from I think it's about $300 to $1,200.
Right. Okay.
And they're actually made by Tesla.
Okay.
Which is, so at least, there's some really good quality control in behind there. And one of the things Donna didn't mention is that she, from what I understand, she actually went through a whole range of different products to try to find one that really did work. Mm-hmm. So it's well, for us, I've got one at home, I've got one at the clinic, because to me it's just easy, it's worth spending the money on it.
Without fear of sort of sponsoring and promoting another product, which we have to be careful of on the radio, of course. But Tesla, you said it was?
Yes.
Tesla?
Yeah.
TSLA?
Yes.
Okay, well, go to their website. I'm sure they'll have the information, prices.
Oh, well, we've got a couple of each at the clinic too for sale.
Yeah, so Blue Shield, BLU, Shield, the word shield. Obviously, it's all one word, I'd imagine, but I have no idea. Yeah. But very interesting. I think if you're interested and you've heard this conversation, maybe do a little bit of research yourself. Yeah. But don't stand in the motor when you do it.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? It just really opens your eyes.
It's everything we do in life now.
Exactly. And they're also talking about the amount of time people spend in cars. Mm-hmm. So because cars actually relieve their own EMFs, of course.
Well, all the modern cars virtually controlled by satellite.
Yes. Okay.
Fly navigation. I've got a brand new.
All those frequencies.
I've got a brand new motor car. I'm not going to mention the brand name. It's great, but it's got a little antenna on the back, which keeps me up to date with all the road navigation, whatever. So that's coming out of the sky from a little Sputnik that's going around the world. So there you go. There's emissions there, isn't there?
Yeah. One of the things that we've found with kinesiology over because I mentioned Charles Krebs before, with that lady that he went to do a home balance on, so kinesiology. So he's been talking about EMFs for a long time, and probably about 10, 12 years ago I did an update with him that was on, and I don't use a heck of a lot. What I'll often do is put people's phones on the body and sort of show them how it really disconnects pathways in the brain and that sort of thing. And the idea in kinesiology is that you're helping to balance the body to whatever it is you're balancing it to. So I could balance you to your boss, I could balance you to fear of confrontation, I could balance you to EMFs or phone calls or all sorts of things. But I think the problem is with something like this, just because you're balancing the body to the EMFs, it's not necessarily stopping the accumulation. I didn't actually realise that EMFs built up in the body. And I was thinking about, the MCAS we've been talking about lately, the mast cell activation syndrome, which is why I asked Donna if they actually make the body release histamine. So therefore, and because of course the research shows that the histamine crosses the blood-brain barrier and is linked to depression and anxiety and suicidal tendencies as well. So, there's going to be a big link. This, once again, it's sort of giving me another thing to think about with my MCAS clients, the people who are having the histamine build up, because I tend to think, and I'm going to have to experiment with this, there must be something that helps to pull the EMFs out, on a daily basis. So maybe activated zeolites or glutathiones or something, detoxification that we can do to keep on regrounding. Because I think that's the thing people are going to notice if they're recognising that EMFs are a problem. They won't feel grounded, they'll feel anxious. It'll be the electrical things in their body that will feel out of balance.
Wow. Yeah.
So And one of my clients, I'll throw a hello out to her, she'll know who she is. She's addicted to salt lamps. And she showed me some photos, it's hilarious. She's got so many in her house. And I said, oh, are you doing that to protect yourself from EMFs and things? She said, no, I'm addicted to buying them.
What's the salt lamp? What are they?
They release negative ions. So remember in the old movies when people, would get sick and the doctor would say, you've got to go live on the seaside.
Yep.
So oceans basically release negative ions, and negative ions are good for your health.
Okay.
So do walks in the bush, and basically nature helps to pull positively charged toxins out of the body. So I tend to think there must be something that, and once again, maybe it's about keeping our diet clean and all of that sort of stuff as well.
Yep.
Because the less toxic we are, maybe we're not attracting as many, because obviously some people are the canaries. Some people will be very, very aware that these things are affecting them and go, oh my goodness, and if they started doing a few of those sleep hygiene things and the machine hygiene in their house, they might get results just from that. But the problem is the neighbours' mobiles and, all of the things all around us.
Yeah, after hearing what I just heard, I'll be turning off my modem in the lounge room.
Yes.
Pardon me, and I'm thinking, you don't think for 1 minute these things can pass through walls, but they do, because
absolutely.
it's like the Wi-Fi situation, isn't
yes.
it?
And the other thing is putting your phone onto like aeroplane mode whenever it's not in use. So that way it's not receiving, it's not asking for the frequencies to come and attack it.
It's just a matter of being organised.
It really is.
When people come to visit you, Madonna, at your place...
Yes, New Leaf Natural
Therapies.
Yes.
Do you talk to them about these sorts of things as well? Do you get involved in that?
We do, and Georgia and I more specifically than Shelby and Rob. And sometimes you can actually tell, like when all that thing happened with the ABC and all those cancers, remember that whole thing that went on a dozen years ago or whenever it was. It was sort of interesting at the time because from a naturopathic perspective, like it sort of made sense that would happen because with kinesiology, certainly, like I said, 12, 15 years, we've been sort of helping people's bodies deal better with EMFs. But it's like Donna said, it's an accumulation. So just balancing the body to something isn't taking away the problem that's there all day, every day.
Yep.
So we do, as naturopaths, it's definitely one of the problems we raise with people. And then also when people are buying houses, sometimes they know they're in a spot, that isn't going to be good. If you can see a huge electrical tower close by. And there are certain pockets in Brisbane and there's pockets around the world that are known to have more of these EMFs. So, and I'm supposing, closer to airports and closer to... There was one doctor a few years ago who spoke at an autoimmune congress, and he said that the increase in autoimmunity around places like airports was really quite dramatic when you actually looked at it around London, around Italy, around, major centres. And like the number is something like 10 or 20 times more than the regular population. And the regular population has got lots of these EMFs at the moment. So we're all dealing with them in our own ways. So it's about whether or not we want to protect ourselves. Maybe we're having no signs and symptoms and we're getting away with it because we have a clean diet, we drink enough water, we sort of do everything. So I always think there is that real tipping point for people. It might be absolutely fine until it's not.
Yeah, it brings me to thinking that the more we advance, the more we go back. We go backwards, but we self-destruct.
Yes. Yeah, you just think about everything we're doing, it's sort of like we're not exercising as much as we used to. We're not eating as many healthy foods. We're not eating as many fresh fruit and veggies and clean foods as we used to.
And yet we're guilty of adopting this selfish attitude because you love your mobile phone, you love all your little knickknacks.
Absolutely.
I do, and everybody else does. And here we are advocating that these things are bad for you.
Yeah.
But we've all got them, haven't we?
Yeah. In fact, there's more mobile phones in the world than there are humans.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I know, there's really not a lot you can do about that because the human beings are the ones that go out and manufacture and put them in the shops and buy them.
Yes.
We are responsible for what we do.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. If somebody came along and said, okay, we're ditching all the mobile phones, we're putting them in a big pit and we're going to burn them. Can you imagine the uproar?
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
So we've got something that to a degree is destroying us.
Yeah. And I think that's why, part of me, and I've said this before, part of me doesn't believe that a government or they're going to protect our health. I don't believe that's the role of the government. I believe the role of the government is to, do things like your knee reconstructions and all of those sort of things that are general health thing. But when it comes to our own individual health, we're responsible.
Yep.
We're responsible for the food we put in our mouth. We're responsible if we choose organic foods versus non-organic foods. We're responsible if we go into that, fast food place every night on the way home from work, and just eat those dead calories. We're responsible for all of those things. You can't legislate to change people's minds. Exactly like you said, we're human beings, we have choice.
Yep.
And I think it always hits that spot where people will choose health or not, with every decision they're making all day, every day.
Well, all we can do now is do things better.
Yes.
So in other words, something small, like whoever invents a case for a mobile phone that locks all those little rays and nasty things that are getting out, locks them in when it's closed in your pocket.
Yes.
Will probably make a lot of money, won't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, there are those things. So those things are available. So there's several, like Blue Shield is one, but there's lots of different things that we can do to protect ourselves. Like I say, even things like crystals can be quite protective for the body. Mm. And I know that seems weird, but if you go into a crystal shop and you start talking to the people about the healing properties of things, there's a lot of knowledge out there. And let's face it, we all need...
Yeah.
We need to take our health seriously and start looking at our symptoms and going, well, is this bothering me? If it's bothering me, what can I do?
Yeah. Well, we were happy to talk to Dr. Ross Walker, who's a cardiologist, but unfortunately things didn't work out.
Well, I'll be curious to see what he says. We can even ask him about this, so he'll be on next Friday.
Next Friday, yeah. And they're the sorts of things that we can sort of throw at him, and if he knows the answers, I'm sure he will. I don't know whether you've seen his credentials, you've heard of him.
Oh, he's amazing.
Incredible man. Sadly, we haven't got him on the program. That's all right. We had a very, very interesting replacement.
Yeah.
And I thought the conversation with Donna was most important, and I'm sure the listeners would as well. But anyway, so Dr. Ross will be, fingers crossed, all good with us next week, and we'll remember all those questions. And if you've got any questions, you can always send us an email or send you an email at Newly Therapies and say, hey, can you ask this question? Unfortunately, we can't do a 3 or 4 way chat live to air with Dr. Ross. But if you've got some questions, give us a buzz and we'll make sure we put them in our folder for next week. So it'll be good.
No, he's going to be fabulous. Yeah. Well, we've sort of been doing with cardiac stuff at the clinic, because so many people, of course, the big thing is when people go to the doctor, do they need an operation? Do they need a, stent put in? Do they need, what is their heart actually doing? Are they building up plaque in there? So all of those things are obviously the purview of, the medical association, and that's all amazing. But one of the things that, we've talked about cholesterol before, and it'll be interesting to chat to Dr. Walker about it as well. One of the things that tends to go up when we're under stress, and if EMFs are creating, stress in our bodies as well, I wonder if EMF's one of the things that raises our cholesterol. So, for example, I know when my mum comes into the city, she gets headaches. That's just and I've always assumed it was pollution, but maybe it's also the EMFs and everything, all the high-rise. So all the high-rise, there's more mobiles, there's more equipment, there's, and it's all in a really small space. Yeah. So I wonder whether city living, is similar to, say, near airports and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm sure it is, but we all know we'll get stressed.
Yes.
You get stressed.
Yes, absolutely.
And we know, and you know what it does to yourself, because you know how you feel, even though the exterior, sometimes it shows it, but on the inside you really feel stress.
Yeah.
I sort of have tried to de-stress myself most of my life and not get too flustered. I stay calm, but there's times I don't, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you talk about that when people come to see you at New Live Therapies?
Stress, absolutely. Yeah. No, stress is one of the biggest things, because if people are running in fight and flight, and so I've got a balance booked in Monday morning. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on at the moment. So I make sure that I get regular balances when I need to, and sort of just bring myself back down to earth again. So anything can trigger fight and flight responses in the body. So it can be, having to talk to the bank. It can be having to, getting the tax return back. It can be, whether you've got, anything that can be bad news can trigger the body into, and I always think small business owners got to have a strong backbone, because, man, you can imagine the banks, the accountants, they're not particularly happy with us a lot of the time, because, we're small business owners. You know, it's a real challenge. So yeah, it's sort of like anything can trigger those fight and flight responses, but once it gets triggered, it can slow your thyroid, it can slow your immune system, it can upset the ability to detoxify in the body. Stress absolutely raises cholesterol, without a doubt. So there's so many things that happen in the body when we are under stress. And I wonder if then we are more likely to sop up these toxins in our environment when we are under stress. And I pretty much know the answer to that. The answer is yes.
Of course, yeah.
Because our detox mechanisms just aren't up and running as well. So yeah, we talk to people about stress, we talk to people about lifestyle and sleep hygiene and all sorts of things. Always about diet. It's amazing how often people think that they are on a good diet and they're really not. And if you imagine anything that's affecting the body, anything, if you clean up your diet, it's going to help.
Yeah.
And by cleaning up your diet, I'm talking clean proteins,
Yeah.
clean fruit and veggies, you know, and sort of, you know, minimising your sugars, your alcohols, your grains.
So, look, we've
They're
just got
the
a couple
biggies.
of minutes left. So, when people come to you, they contact New Leaf Therapies at Wynnum.
Yes.
That telephone number, whack that.
3348 6098.
Okay, and speak to yourself or your...
It's
associate.
usually Sanu or Lynn who will
Okay.
get them on the phone, yes.
And all these things we're talking about, what's the process you go through?
Well, generally, if someone rings up and wants testing, you know, they can ask about the testing processes. We do look at people's blood or do heavy metal testing and all sorts of bits and pieces. If someone's coming in for fat loss, we will automatically book them in for a fat loss consultation. But that's really the only thing that is a automatic set standard thing. Usually Georgia will do an initial 1.5 hours or I'll do an initial hour, and then we get a whole bunch of forms filled out first. It takes about 45 minutes, so it's worth filling them out.
Yep.
And then basically we've got a whole bunch of information before we even get in there,
All right.
which is fabulous. So and then it's a good amount of time to really nut out a bit of a program and find out where the triggers are for the health issues in your life.
Fantastic. Been a good session today.
Excellent.
Telephone number again and the name of the place.
It's 3348 6098 and it's New Leaf Natural Therapies.
Thanks, Madonna. Talk to you
Excellent.
next week. Have
Thanks,
a great
Rusty.
weekend. Bye.
Feeling peckish?